All right, good morning, everyone. We're here for first appearance this February 11th, 8:02. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm Wade Mercer. I'm the county judge in Jackson County. There are two attorneys involved in the first appearance process. Because it's a weekend, they're both appearing by video. I'm going to ask that they introduce themselves, starting with the state.
Kara Brimmer on behalf of the state.
Elizabeth Simpson with the Public Defender's Office.
Thank you. And we have Holmes County first. Mr. or Madam Jailer in Holmes County, can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir, Judge.
Great. And have you had a chance to play the first appearance video there?
Yes, sir, Judge.
Great. Iverson, I believe is it Malzahn or Muzon, sir?
It's Muzon, sir.
Muzon. All right, Mr. Muzon, let me find you on my video. I see you there. Mr. Muzon, you're here because you've been accused of one count of possession of a controlled substance without a prescription. Mr. Muzon, I've read the complaint. There is probable cause there. The criminal history I've got shows no prior criminal history. Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir. That's correct. This is my first
How
time.
old are you?
I'm 21.
Hang on just a second. I'm waiting on the call on the interpreter. This may be the interpreter on another case we have. Sorry about that. We have one interpreter case and wasn't able to get a hold of the interpreter, but that was him calling back. So, Mr. You said it's Muzon or Malzahn?
It's Muzon, Your Honor.
Muzon. Mr. Muzon, you have no prior criminal history. Mr. Muzon, have you never been charged with a crime anywhere at all, right?
No, sir, I have not.
I'm gonna let you pick between the bond and the conditional release. Since you have no prior criminal history, I'm gonna explain those to you because you may not understand what they are. If you want to post a bond, you're charged with a felony charge. Your bond will be $5,000 cash or surety. A bond works two ways. You either can put up all $5,000 or you can go through a bondsman. If you go through a bondsman, they charge you a percentage of the bond as their fee. Usually that's around 10%. So a normal $5,000 bond with most bondsmen would charge you $500. You would not get that back. That would be your fee for posting bond. And if you go through a bondsman, or if you decide to go through a bondsman, that amount is negotiable. Some bondsmen may want more. If you've got a bad criminal history, some bondsmen may work out and take a little less. That's something you negotiate with them. The second thing that you're being offered is a conditional release. Now, I would say most people prefer a conditional release, but not all people, because here's the difference. A conditional release, there's a trade-off. The trade-off is it costs you nothing to get out of jail. You get out of jail because you don't have much of a criminal history. But the trade-off is you have more rules to follow on a conditional release than you would have to follow on a bond. The normal rules on a bond, in your case, would be don't be charged with any crimes, don't miss any court dates, and random urinalysis. In a conditional release, you have those same three conditions, plus you have other conditions on a conditional release that you would not have on a bond. On a conditional release, you've got to report once a week by phone. On a conditional release, you have to pay a cost of supervision. In most counties, it's between $30 and $50 a month, but it's still usually a lot cheaper than a bond because usually on a conditional release for a month or two in most cases. So you can pick whether you want to get out of jail without putting up any money on conditional release and have more rules to follow, or you want to post money to get out of jail, go through a bond process, and if you choose the bond process, you'll get out once the bond is posted. If you choose the conditional release, you can get out this morning for sure. Lastly, you need to understand if you choose a conditional release, you will have to meet with a conditional release officer, and usually that's the next working day. So if you choose a conditional release, they are going to tell you to report tomorrow to the Holmes County Courthouse or wherever the conditional release office is located so you can meet with a conditional release officer. If you choose a bond, you don't have to come back into your court date. Do you have any questions about that choice?
So if I was to pick a conditional release, you said I can get out this morning, but I have to follow more rules.
That's right.
Yes, sir. I consider myself a good kid. You know, well, I'm 21, so a good man now, and I believe that I won't have any mess up. So I would take that conditional release.
I don't think there's no reason for me to think you'll violate it. So I'm going to offer you that. I think you can do it. You've done it for 21 years, apparently. follow the basic rules. So I'm going to grant you a conditional release. The jail's going to let you out of jail this morning. Make sure you show up when and where they tell you. You need to make sure that you stay clean. If they drug test you and you have something in your system that you don't have a prescription for, then there's a problem. You could go to jail with no bond if that happens. Make sure you don't miss any court dates. Make sure they've got a good address for you. And obviously can't be charged with any new crimes. Any questions, sir?
No, sir.
All right, sir. Wish you the best. Mr. Jailer, anything else in Holmes?
No, sir. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. We have Jackson next. They only have 2 cases. Mr. Jailer and Jackson, can you see and hear us okay?
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Good morning. We have Brandon Phillips. Can I see Mr. Phillips first?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Your Honor.
Mr. Phillips, good morning. Mr. Phillips, you're here for first appearance accused of 1 count of burglary with a battery. Mr. Phillips, you are accused of a very serious charge. What you're accused of is a first-degree felony. Now, you haven't been convicted of this, and from what I can tell, you've got no prior criminal history. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so you're going to get a very serious bond because you're charged with such a high-degree crime. Now, if the state decides to lower this charge later, that can lower your bond. But right now, you're accused of a first-degree felony, which means it carries, I think burglary with battery carries a maximum penalty of life in prison. I'm not saying you're going to be sentenced to life in prison. What I'm saying is you have a very serious charge at this point. And maybe once an attorney gets involved, then maybe they can do something to negotiate it down somewhat. But I've got to set a bond on based on what you're accused of. Ms. Bremer, anything from the state on behalf of Mr. Phillips?
Your Honor, the state requests a reasonable bond and no contact with the victim.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson, anything on behalf of Mr. Phillips?
No, Your Honor, not at this time.
No. Mr. Phillips, because you have no prior history, I'm going to set your bond at $25,000 cash or surety. Surety means that you can go through a bondsman. You don't have to come up with all the money. Ms. Simpson, because he has no history, I'm not crazy about him sitting there for weeks and weeks until his court date if he can't post bond. Ms. Simpson, if you would notify Mr. Sims' office that Mr. Phillips has no prior history, but he's got a first-degree felony, so I've got to set a high bond or a reasonably high bond. So, Mr. Phillips, if you post that bond, you're going to be released. You'll get to use the phone in a few minutes. If you don't post the bond, then someone from the public defender's office is going to be in contact with you. Mr. Phillips, are you employed?
Yes, sir.
Where do you work at?
At the Family Dollar Distribution Center, the
Okay.
warehouse, Mariana.
Ms. Simpson, please let Mr. Sims' office be aware of that also. So, Mr. Phillips, you get a chance to post the bond. If you post the bond, you're out of there. You do have a condition, no contact with the individuals who have accused you of this or their property. You can't go over there and have no contact with them. Now, they're neighbors, correct? The people that have accused you of this are neighbors, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you share a common driveway?
No, sir.
Okay, so then the easiest thing to do is don't go to their driveway or their property. Obviously, go to your residence. If you post the bond, you'll be released, Mr. Phillips. If he hasn't posted a bond by tomorrow, Mr. Jailer, please put him back on the first appearance list so that I can get a chance for an attorney to talk to him in private and may reconsider the possibility of a cash bond if he's still there. But if you post bond today, you'll be released. If you haven't posted bond, I'm going to see you tomorrow, Mr. Phillips. Any questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Have a good day. Jonathan Hartsfield is next. Mr. Hartsfield, good morning. Mr. Hartsfield, you're here because you've been accused of 1 count of felony criminal mischief. Mr. Hartsfield, I have read the complaint. There is probable cause for the charge. I've also looked at your criminal history, and it looks like you've been out of prison about a year. Is that right, Mr. Hartsfield?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hartsfield, I'm going to set you the bond I normally would set for someone who's been out of prison that long, and that's $7,500 cash or surety. I'll give you a chance to ask questions in just a minute, Mr. Hartsfield. Mr. Hartsfield, is cash or surety. That means you don't have to come up with all of it. You can go through a bondsman. That's what a surety bond is. Mr. Hartsfield, you have a condition, no contact the alleged victim, Mr. Sims. So you can have no contact, Mr. Sims, if you post bond, which means you can't live at that residence he's at. I know that there may be more than one residence there, but you can't live wherever he's at in that residence. Mr. Hartsfield, do you have any questions?
No. Yes, sir. It was my stepdad vehicle. I really didn't mean to bust the window, but I did. But I'm sorry.
I just don't want you to say anything to hurt yourself, Mr. Hartsfield.
Yes, sir.
We're being recorded, and don't say anything about what you're accused of because it could be used against you. But if you have a question,
Right.
and if it's a question I can answer, I'll try to. Any questions?
Yes. Yes, sir. The property is, the property where we at is, it's in my name. So,
Okay,
how we
so
supposed
let
to-
me ask a question about that. How many residents are on the property? How many homes?
Well, it's, to my trailer back there, but, the storm had messed it up a little bit.
So is it livable?
I mean, I have to work on it.
Before
do
you
a
got
little work.
arrested, were you living in the same home that Mr. Sims lived in?
Yes,
Okay, you cannot go to that home then unless he's lawfully removed. And what that means is if he's evicted or lawfully removed or decides to leave on his own, that's fine. You can go there, but as long as he's living there, you cannot go to that home because he's the alleged victim of a crime. Now, if he wants to have contact, we'll cross that bridge, but I have no indication of that at all right now. Mr.
Yes,
Hartsfield,
sir.
do you have any other questions?
no, sir.
All right, wish you the best, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jailer, anything else in Jackson?
Your Honor, I just want a little bit of clarification on Mr. Phillips. You said if he does not bond, you want him brought back tomorrow?
Yeah, I want him brought back, just add him to the list for tomorrow so he can talk to Mr. McDaniel and Mr. McDaniel can talk to him about other bond options. But if he posts bond today, obviously I won't see him.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.
We have Washington County next. In Washington County, Mr. or Miss Jailer in Washington County, can you see and hear us okay?
Yes, sir. We can hear you and see you.
Great. We have Jason Shipes. Mr. Shipes, good morning. You're here because you've been accused of one count of resisting an officer without violence. Mr. Shipes, this is a real unusual case because it looks like they arrested you a couple of days ago for violation of probation. You allegedly ran from them. And then a couple of days later, they add this charge. Am I reading that right? Is that what they've done, accused you of?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr.
Your
Shipes,
Honor,
there's
if I
no
can-
problem. Go ahead, ma'am.
What happened was, I guess the jailer that booked him in, the arresting officer sent the report real late. And so it was emailed apparently, and so it was missed. So we just got him up as soon as we could.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Shipes, there's no
Yeah.
probable cause for this charge. And let me explain why. There's a law in Florida that says if you're resisting an officer without violence, which means you knowingly resist an officer, that's a crime. There is no indication whatsoever in the complaint that this officer ever told you to stop or that you were in a position to hear them. Even they said it. They don't even say it said it. What it says is someone's running through the woods. They don't know it was you, and that you got in the truck and left. That there's no indication that you knew they were even there. Now, I'm not saying they can't correct this. They may be able to correct this if they tell you to stop and you don't. That's a probable cause. But they have to put something in the complaint that they either saw you running, that they instructed you to stop, and that you failed to follow a lawful instruction. None of that's in the complaint. There's no probable cause. If they fix this by amending the complaint, then what will happen is then the state can send you a notice and put you on a docket. But right now, there's not enough there for me to even justify holding you. You're not going to be held on this charge for the time being. Ms. Bremer, I tried to email this, but it was sent to me. The way that it was sent to me was through a OneDrive system, and I don't know that it went through. Have you had a chance to look at your email, Ms. Bremer?
I have not, Your Honor.
Okay, after first appearances, I'll take a photo and text you the complaint, and that way you'll have the officer's name to contact, please, and let him know he's got to put in there what the person did. Going for a run or walking away, if you don't know the officers are behind you, it's not a crime. So,
Thank
Mr.
you, sir.
Shipes, you may or may not be charged with this in the future, but right now there's not enough. Any questions?
Yes, sir. If he can't put that in there, it can't be proven, then basically it'd be dropped, right?
If the state attorney's office, well, let me tell you what happened. The state attorney's office will talk with the officer, and the officer
Yes,
says,
sir.
no, I have no evidence that he heard me. I
Right.
never said stop. If that happens, then they're going to have to dismiss it. On the other hand, if the officer says, I did tell him to stop and I could see him and I think he could hear me based upon where he was located at, then that's
Right.
enough to charge you. But right now, there's not enough,
Okay.
at least not in this sworn complaint. And that's what I have to go by. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Have a good day, sir. Jason
You too, sir.
Farabee. Farby. Mr. Farby, good
Yeah,
morning.
John.
You're here for one first appearance. You're accused of one count of driving while license, suspended or revoked. There is probable cause for the charge. I've also looked at your criminal history and your driving history. And I think you've got a couple of prior no valids or similar type charges. So it looks like you're probably going to be a bond, but let me make sure the attorneys don't have any additional information before I address that. Ms. Bremer, anything from the state?
I don't have any additional information, Your Honor. The state would just request a reasonable bond and that he not be permitted to drive without a license.
Thank you. Ms. Simpson, anything?
I don't have anything, Your Honor.
Mr. Farby, I'm going to set you the standard bond I set for this charge, which is $2,500. It's cash or surety. Surety means you can go through a bondsman. If you go through a bondsman and if the bondsman charge you 10%, which I certainly can't promise, they may charge you more, may charge you less, but 10% would mean it would cost you $250 to get out of jail. So, Mr. Farby, you're going to use the phone in a few minutes to try to post the bond. If you post the bond, you'll be released. If you're not able to post the bond, then Washington County Judge Peel will see you in the next several days. And your bond has a condition not to drive a motor vehicle unless you have a valid license. If you get your license issue straightened out, you drive all you want. But until that's straightened out, you cannot drive. Do you have any questions, sir?
Yeah, can I? So first, I bought the moped off Facebook Marketplace for $600, and then the girl had told me when I bought it, she had looked it up on Google. She says 150cc, you don't have to have a license.
Sir, I
So
wouldn't
in my
advise you to talk about the case at this time.
No, I mean I'd rather talk about it. I'd rather talk about it just so the judge can, I'm already guilty. So what happened was I already did that, and then I was trying to drive back and forth to work because I work at Tradewick Construction. And so
Okay.
I was trying to but without me like walking all the way there. So without the license and stuff. So I thought I bought the moped so I didn't have to use the license. So
Okay.
I can get back and forth.
Mr. Farby, let me tell you about that law. That law changes every couple of years. The last time I saw it, it was last time I looked at it, it was they didn't even make a gas powered moped that could comply with that. And I think it was all the way down to 50cc. And they didn't even make one. Now they may make them now, but if it was a gas powered moped, it was almost impossible to comply with that law. Now electric mopeds may be different. What I'm going to do is, because it was a moped, because you're on the sidewalk, because you say you're going to work, if you don't post bond today, I'm going to ask the jail to put you back in front of Judge Peel tomorrow, so he can hear your case full. Because if with this type of charge, I'm not crazy about you losing your job. I don't want you to lose your job, but at the same time, you've got multiple charges of this in the past. Or similar charges. So if you're still there, let me finish. If you're still there tomorrow, Judge Peel will see you again, and maybe y'all can talk about it further. And he may decide to do something different, which is his case. He can do whatever he wishes. On the other hand, if you have posted bond today, he will not see you tomorrow because you'll already be out. Any other questions?
So who? I ain't never really done this before. So who would I call for the bondsman? Like, can I have my girl called in?
Yeah, yes, you can contact friends or family, or you can contact the bondsman yourself. You get to use the phone in a few minutes, but since you get one phone call, you probably want to contact friends or family and let them get on the phone trying to post the bond. Do you have the? Let me ask this question. Do you have the ability? Let me ask this question. Do you have the ability to post a $250 cash bond if I set that instead?
Yeah, I have enough money to post like $500 on cash.
Miss Bremer, any objection to a $250 cash bond?
No, Your Honor.
Please.
I'm going to set your bond at $250 cash. And that way you don't have to go through a bondsman. You just post a $250. That's the same thing you probably would give them. Here's the other advantage to a cash bond. If you post a cash bond, then what happens is if the case is dismissed, the money's returned to you. Okay?
No, y'all can keep the money. I'm not really familiar. So does my girl go up to Walmart and get the money order and bring it here?
Someone brings cash, $250 cash to the jail, and you'll be released. Okay?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Have a good day. Let's go back to Washington County. We have two more cases there. The first is John Elliott. Mr. Elliott, come on up. Mr. Elliott, you're accused of a violation of state probation out of a different county, sir. It's a no bond warrant. That means you're going to be held until you can get over to that other county and get this case resolved. I did not write down the county. I looked at it, but I didn't write it down. Mr. and Ms. Jailer, can you tell me what county that warrant was out of?
County.
What? I'm sorry.
Bay.
Say again. Bay County.
Bay County.
So Mr. Elliott, thank you. Mr. Elliott, when you get to Bay County, you'll go to a first appearance there, and the judge there may or may not modify your bond. But right now, there's no bond. Any questions?
No, sir.
All right. Have a good day, sir. And we have Dana. I think it's Howdeck, perhaps? Ma'am, how do you say your last name? Howdeck. Ms. Hodeck, good morning. You're here because you're accused of one count of aggravated assault with a weapon. The complaint alleges aggravated assault with a firearm. It actually alleges multiple counts, but the officer chose to only charge you with one count. Ma'am, there is probable cause for the charge. Ma'am, the criminal history I've got shows no prior history or very little prior history. Is that right, ma'am?
Correct.
Okay, the problem is that you're accused, and the key word is accused. You're accused of pointing a firearm at two different people and pulling a trigger. The allegations are that the firearm was unloaded is the only reason it didn't go off, and that you were significantly intoxicated when it happened. With that kind of allegation, ma'am, I can't give you a conditional release. I'm going to have to set you a bond. Let me see if the attorneys have any additional information they want me to be aware of before I address your bond. Ms. Bremer, anything from the state?
Your Honor, the state requests a reasonable bond that she have no contact with the victims and that she not be permitted to possess a firearm.
Thank you. And Ms. Simpson, anything on behalf of Ms. Howdeck?
No, Your Honor, not at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Howdeck, the alleged victims are Jason and Brenda Howdeck. Are they related to you, ma'am?
That's my brother-in-law, and he's the one that put hands on me. I have marks from it.
Here, don't listen. We're being recorded, and I want you to talk to an attorney in private about your version of what happened. Anything you say now could actually end up hurting you. So my question is the relationship. So he's your brother-in-law. Who is Brenda Howdeck?
Mother-in-law.
Mother-in-law. Okay. So Ms. Howdeck, you've got a $5,000 bond. You have a condition of no contact with Jason or Brenda Howdeck at all. Ms. Howdeck, did you reside in the same residence with them?
That's my home. That's my house.
Okay. What that means is, even though it's your home, because they're the alleged victims, you have to lawfully remove them from the home before you can go back there. Lawfully removal means they can leave voluntarily if they wish. If they don't leave voluntarily, you have to move them lawfully, which means evict them or go through some type of legal process to have them removed from the home. There's a couple different ones besides evictions. But once they're lawfully removed from the home, you can go back there. Otherwise, you've got to go somewhere else on a temporary basis, and you've got a $5,000 cash or surety bond. And surety means you don't have to come up with all the money. You can go through a bondsman. Ms. Howdeck, do you have any questions?
No, because I don't even have a clue who would help me.
Okay. Well, you're going to get use the phone in just a few minutes, ma'am, to try to post the bond. Okay. Have a good day, ma'am. And that brings us to Gulf County. In Gulf County there, can you obviously you can see in here because we've already had one case there. I do have a spelling issue on Miss Cruz, who we've already seen with the interpreter, Mr. Jailer. The complaint has Adriana with one N, but the jail docket prepared by the jail staff has Adriana with two N's. I don't know which is correct, but if y'all can make sure that it may just be a simple error. If y'all can make sure that is that's consistent. And if the complaint spells it both ways multiple times in the complaint, I only saw the front page, but if it spells it multiple ways, obviously it needs to have both. If y'all can look at that, I'd appreciate it. We do have 4 other cases there, and we have, I don't know if it's David Jaden or Jaden David. Some of these are first name first, and some of them's last name first. There's no comma, so I'm assuming it's Jaden David.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Stand over right here.
We'll get it corrected, Judge.
Thank you. On Carter Alvin, is that Alvin Carter on his?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, you see what I'm talking about? His is last
Yes,
name
sir.
first. Everybody else's first name, I guess. So, Mr. David, good morning, sir. You're here for one kind of petty theft. Mr. David, I've read the complaint. There is probable cause. You have very little criminal history. How old are you?
18?
All right. And you live in Gulf County?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. David, what I'm going to do is let you pick between a bond and a conditional release because of your age and your criminal history, primarily your criminal history. So there is probable cause for petty theft. Did you hear me explain conditional release earlier to the individual from the other county?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about the bond versus the conditional release option?
No, sir.
If you want to choose the bond for a misdemeanor, it's $2,500 cash or surety. If you want to accept the conditional release, I'm going to offer you a conditional release. Do you know which one you want to choose, sir?
Conditional release is I get released today.
That's right.
I'll choose that.
I'm going to grant you the conditional release. Make sure you show up when and where the jailer tells you. your conditional release has the standard conditions of conditional release plus the condition that you not go to the store that's accused you of this or any store of that same chain. What store has accused you of this? Is it a chain store like Dollar General? What's the name of the store?
Express Lane. It was a gas station.
Okay, so I don't know if there's more than one Express Lane or not. If there is, you cannot go to any.
One.
Okay, no problem. You can't go. Can only not go to that one store. Okay, go anywhere else you want, but that one store while this case is pending. And just make sure you show up when and where the jail tells you to meet with the conditional release officer. Any questions, Mr. David?
I have school. I have GED classes like 9 through 11. Would that affect it?
Absolutely not. We want you to go to school. We want you to finish school. So yeah, that won't affect it at all.
Thank you.
Now, let me clarify. The first appointment may be a conflict because they may tell you to be somewhere at 9 tomorrow. But after that first appointment, the conditional release officer is going to work with you on the time. Okay.
All right.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Ezekiel Register. Mr. Register, good morning. Mr. Register, you're here for one charge of resisting an officer without violence, driving while license suspended, and fleeing and eluding. There's a warrant already been signed in these cases. And the best I can tell, you're already out on bond in 23144 MM. Is that right?
Yes, sir. On my run. But I can say right. I ain't got my license. I ain't got no license. I ain't got no car. So
okay. Well, Mr. Register, you're not accused of having a car. You're accused of driving a car and fleeing and eluding, and you're already out on bond on another case. So this is just what you're accused of. What I'm going to do is set you a bond. There is probable cause. Your bond's $5,000 on the resisting and driving while license suspended, $10,000 on the fleeing and eluding. Your bond's a total of $20,000, but because you're already out on bond, I'm going to hold you with no bond until tomorrow or until you can see the local judge, Judge McFarland, because it's certainly very possible that he may revoke that bond. That'll be his decision. I'm going to hold you until you can see him. Mr. Register, so don't try to post bond. It's a waste of money for you to post bond if he's going to revoke the one that you're already out on. He will take another look at the case. He'll review everything. He'll review the case that you're out on bond on. And then Judge McFarland will decide if he's going to revoke your bond or not in 23144. Mr. Register, questions?
So you say my bond was what?
Your bond is $20,000 cash or surety on everything from today, but you right now, at least temporarily, have no bond in the old case, 23144 MM.
Okay,
that was resisting without violence too.
So I am going to see Mr. McFarland tomorrow, right?
You'll see him tomorrow as long as he's back tomorrow. I don't know. I don't have his calendar, but normally Judge McFarland's there every weekday. Mr. Jailer, any reason to think he won't be there tomorrow?
None that I know of, Judge.
As far as we know, it'll be him tomorrow, and you'll see him as soon as he's back. Let's say he's off tomorrow, Mr. Register. If he happens to be off tomorrow, you'll see him Tuesday. But if he's back tomorrow, whoever does first appearances tomorrow, you'll see them. Let me put it that way. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Have a good day, sir.
You too. Can I get an affidavit?
Luis Gomez. Mr. Gomez, good morning. You're here for an out-of-county warrant out of Franklin County. Mr. Gomez, it looks like it's got a bond already on the warrant. It's a $350 bond. So if you post a $350, you'll be released. If you're not able to post a $350, you'll be transported to Franklin County, and you'll go to a first appearance there. Any questions, sir?
No, sir.
All right, have a good day, Mr. Gomez. And then we have Alvin Carter. Mr. Carter, good morning. You're here for first appearance, charged with one count of aggravated battery. Mr. Carter, there is probable cause for this charge. And Mr. Carter, when I looked at your history, I saw a recent battery charge, so I went and looked it up. And it looks like you're already on probation with a case involving the same alleged victim. And in that case, you've got a condition of peaceful contact only in that case. Is that right, Mr. Carter?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to set your bond in the new charge of $25,000 cash or surety, no bond in the possible probation violation. Ask the jail to get you back in front of the judge on that. The next first appearance that the judge is there, Judge McFarland, and you'll see him on that. But don't try to post bond because you're already on bond. Excuse me, you're on probation for the same alleged victim. So even though I'm setting your bond in a new case, you've got no bond in what appears to be a probation violation. Mr. Carter, any questions?
No, sir.
Have a good day, sir. Mr. Jailer, that's everything I had for Gulf. From Adam Jailer, anything else from Gulf County?
No, sir, that's all.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.